Jonny Stang here from the HoloTUBE. Hope you are all well. I have interviewed the BigBlackCrypto, which is the one and only digital asset analyst that I know of, and nobody beats his level of enthusiasm, his level of intelligence. This guy is going places, and the HoloTUBE was the first to interview him. So it's an hour-long interview. It's an incredible video, which I strongly recommend you listen to from start to finish. So without further ado, let's get into it. So before we head on, if you just introduce yourself, who you are, who the legend is of BigBlackCrypto, and we'll make sure that people can hear you, and then we're going to crack on with the questions.
Okay, well, by day I'm a carpenter, and then, the rest of my day just doesn't stop when I come home. When I leave a job site, I really do spend a sizable amount of time and a healthy amount of time researching meticulously about different coins, projects, really making sure I understand the technology behind things. Because, when I see a lot of these review videos, I don't try to be mean or anything. It's a new space. People are finding themselves and sorting themselves up. It's like, I just realized that there's no digital asset analyst. For the most part, there's a lot of people selling us on the hype train. I sold sneakers for about almost 8 years working at Foot Locker. So, you know what I mean? You can imagine how hard it is selling a running shoe they don't want. For me, it's just I see sales tactics, I hear it, and it's I get it, right? I've also flown drones at one point. One of my first businesses I started was a drone company that I just kind of let die because of red tape and regulation emerging space. Because I didn't do research then, I made sure before getting into this space to do my research now and to really further the conversation why crypto are a way forward, not just as a form of bank, decentralized bank, but as well as a technological advancement. It almost feels like a form of renaissance. If you compare the form of enlightenment back then to now, the acceptance of certain technologies. And when I look at something comparable such as Holochain, it's not if, but when. You think back then nobody thought Tesla would be moving towards payment in Bitcoin, but they do now. So the future is very forward, and sooner or later, if banks don't start releasing their own tokens, like my banking institution still hasn't released a token. It's kind of ironic. You have you have American counterparts of your own entity. You don't release your own token. You could have released your own USD backed.
Awesome.
And that's kind of how I got into this situation. Of wanting to become crypto literate. It's knowing that my money is just infinite. It's worth significantly more being in a position for itself. You can't do that in forms of banking. Traditional forms of banking are want that form of safety and security, but then as well, the world's moving in which mobile and still have that form of safety environment. And that's something I seek to do. I seek to really, introduce the business side of things, the crypto sphere.
We'll go to Robert's question after, but Visual Monix has actually said, how will Holochain contribute to VR technology? Can we see developers developing AAA, AAA tier VR games and experiences on Holochain? Interesting.
I think you see a reduced lag time or no lag time at all. We can all go back to N64, Nintendo. It's not your father's bloatware. This isn't blockchain on blockchain. This is an adequate solution to real time. That's how it can help with VR technology and as well as other gaming platforms. And you're gonna see that happen relatively soon as well. Once, for example, I really would like to see a major company take on Holo and dev on that, because that could be an ecosystem that stays relevant decade.
Yeah. Good question. Robert has asked, I have heard that Holo maybe wants to partnership with Mozilla Firefox. If it succeeds and they will work together, what influence has it on token holdings and Holo fuel holders? Will the Holo pot owners own extreme amounts of Holo fuel then? And will the hot token holders see huge price increases? And that's from Robert.
I think as far as the Firefox thing, it really depends on if Firefox is to you. I feel like everyone has their own preferred browser, but none of us are going to be negligent that, oh, because that's not my browser, that's not going to generate a massive amount of hot fuel. Web hosting period, by 2025, it's be a $200 billion year, right? So if you can think about the amount of hot fuel that'll generate and create value in terms of swapping for it, basically what they've told you, to some extent, is that Holo fuel is going to become Crow. And I don't think people that register people, like, this is when I knew I wanted to be a digital asset analyst. I streamlined two things, they run parallel, and then at some point there has to be a point of divergence. Why does one occur and the next is happening? And Holo fuel, in my sense, kind of makes it seems like that's the trajectory headed for it, considering one of the big partnerships announcing their position to exit out of alpha. But we'll see that.
Yeah. Balotelli has asked, what's your three favorite coins?
Oh, well, my favorite three coins are?
Yeah.
Ooh. Wow. You know what? It's funny how I get emotionally attached to seeing the different chains. Like, oh, am I, I already say that I'm retired right now and I only work to socialize or work because I want to. What I'm doing is fulfilling. But every time I check, I get emotional and I think to myself, I wish I had, oh man, Orion Protocol. That's my coin of choice. That is so okay, you know what? These three coins are Kingsmaker coins. That's another phrase entered into the lexicon of the cryptos here universe is Kingsmaker. And so Orion Protocol I'd see as being one of those, simply because every native exchange currency ends up becoming its own. Ooh, and if y'all are paying attention, these are breadcrumbs. This is salacious. But essentially, when something becomes an exchange, that native currency always goes up. It's not if, but when, and over time, you return on values. I mean, once you get through the first wave of people selling short or trying to short so they can increase their market position, your best interest as someone entering the market would be to actually enter at what you consider high, because there's going to be nowhere for a whale to hide when they can't sell short positions and sort of effectively dictate market. But again, that's more of an advanced conversation to have if you're paying attention to volumes. I haven't even gotten into a theory of what Elon Musk in years from, but it's what's important is people understand that native currency always go up in value, and you always need something to exchange for that. Holochain is the first itself where you have the speed, and now who they're partnering with to create an exchange that will become a liquidity aggregator. A liquidity aggregator, I'm going to pull this one up because I don't want to butcher it, but it's quite important that you understand this term. And what it is kind of like a consolidation of all the a routing port. They create the speed at which everything is going to operate. So at some point, scale and meet the speed of net demand, people are going to have to wrap things in Holochain. If not wrap, adopt some of the framework. Because sharding, for example, is blockchain on blockchain. How do you fix transactional speed issue if solution is temporary and the whole world knows it's temporary. So that's why when I look at Holochain, I could make the appraisals for what I think it'll be in 2030. I can keep it to myself that that's probably the value. Why I like it is because it reminds me it's a market disruptor. It's a bad boy of crypto, because it's telling people not only your fee is going to be cheaper, you're going to charge one, and on top of that, it's limitless scalability. It's infinite in the sense that as long as the community continues together, it gets faster. No one else on market can do that and can actually demonstrate time. Like if you look up syntax, your elemental chat, it's real time. You can't beat that. I'm sitting there waiting for friends to text me back. I'm in the bubble. Sometimes you're waiting there. Sometimes you don't know if that person got up, they forgot, they left the type window open. But imagine being able to see what the thought process is as that thought. And that's why I like it in terms of collaboration. I go and check out virological.org just to enjoy reading medical. Now imagine if people, these medical projects, were able to do so in real time, process each other's thoughts in real time. Like the value of this partnership with Orion protocol, and I'll lead into that, is it's, once they deliver, and I don't know if anybody who's paying attention right now has participated in any of the beta, but you should definitely go and participate in the, because realistically, if you don't hold your own token, you know what I mean? It's not the same. Like essentially, imagine yourself becoming your own, and that's what a true decentralized system.
I like it.
I could go on forever, but I think y'all should ask me a question.
Visual Monarchs has asked, how do you realistically see governments regulating Holochain?
Because the people that run them don't live a virtual reality. Like there's always you have to play the game or get shut down.
Yeah.
You can, no matter what happens, like if you subvert legalities, at some point you get curtailed to where this is too much. A great example is I think there's a documentary on marijuana. What they do is they track it's called the land race, right? And you go through centuries, historical stories, and you're like, oh, this weed came from here, so let me find the greatest weed and that God himself probably smoked. And as funny as that is, like, the one thing that sort of struck me is if you want to create a certain amount of change, you have to do so in a way that government can stop you. It's by over force. Not force is a violence, but you could think of it as an X amount of people decide that, hey, we all want one thing. Until you legalize it, you can't tax it, and you may as well figure out how to tax it, like allow it to go unregulated. And so you're going to see that in many cases. In Canada, for example, I was shocked. Shout out to crypto.com for creating the new credit lending thing. That's amazing. I didn't realize that was going to be a thing. Appreciate it. I appreciate it. It's because it's nice to see something grow.
Yeah.
But where I knew this crypto thing was going to get regulated to some degree, irregardless, is that I got an update on doing my tax reports through my exchange. So there's going to be government cooperation. So people running to cryptos, thinking that in many ways that because it's decentralized, that there's not going to be some rules to be had to understand that the whole protocol systems of an entire network operate on rules. So you yourself will have rules to follow whether you like it or not. It's important you learn those rules, learn the terminology. And if you want to make the most amount of money, understand the technology behind it, or the history connecting it to why people also perceive a value in it. Like imagine being like, for me, I don't look at the exchange punch in a calculator. At that point, the value, it might not be worth it to make my trade. So I try to run a scaling chart, anticipate when the system might short me, and I try to stay above that. what Holochain does now is it means real speed, real time. See that Orion, they launched their exchange. And also too, you know what that means? That's a third exchange recognizing hot token. I remember that. I think. Shout out to Gabby for asking about Coinbase. I remember that. Like, what about Coinbase? You know, what does that mean when they list us? Orion's exchange launches and they list before Coinbase. That should be like. That should be almost a reminder that if it's not adoption, there's also politics as well, right? Mm-hmm. Anything that's a threat to me or the namespace that I carry that is traditional good old blockchain on blockchain and trying to figure out another short-term solution on a problem we can't fix, it's Holochain. That's why you won't see it on, because either they're going to allow trades to happen through Orion protocol or they won't. Yeah. Them not allowing it to do so is them trying to save the value of their IPO. Because remember, then a rumor got out that private shares had been sold for $50. So imagine someone entering the market, you sold what you sold, then they just prove that they're faster. Users will naturally migrate and trade it. So that's why you haven't seen Coinbase launch their IPO.
I like it. That was intensely deep. My IQ level just went out. I lost it. Can't deal with that amount level of IQ. It's incredible.
That's what that crypto does, man. You once you dive in and you go deep. I'm not saying dark web. I'm just saying like into all the tech terms and the nerd lingo. It's like, ooh, you know, you start seeing different synapses. I got memories that I forgot about. It's like, oh, this is nice.
We've got a question from Grass Cutting. BigBlackCrypto, do you think Bitcoin Lightning Network will be a game changer for the blockchain tech?
Ooh, that's a little bit new to me. Let me take a look at that.
Yeah, that's new to me as well.
Is I got a feeling that's probably some kind of payment. A lot of companies are going to start moving.
That is the beauty of the live chat and the community, that we all learn, and it's a good question from Grass Cutting, actually.
So can you repeat the question? Because I just kind of like, I'm not laughing at that, but it's like when I saw layer 2, I was like, okay, let me see what this is about.
So the question, yep, is do you think that Bitcoin Lightning Network will be a game changer for blockchain tech?
No, not really. So for a long time, I've kind of wondered, like, you know, essentially, like, at any point in time, like, Elon could dump, right? So this is one of those convenience things to encourage people to sort of buy into Bitcoin and FOMO into Bitcoin, but there also has to be an appreciation to understand you might just be like keeping a hedge afloat. I think in that article about Elon allowing people to buy Teslas like that, one of the articles I'd read before was like people often will sell off a portion of the Bitcoins that they aggregated through their mining activities, and it's the payoff of the fees of running itself. So it's kind of ironic that in order for Bitcoin to keep its value, just basically telling you, hey, we'll give you back more if you stay with us. And that's one of the reasons why I'm not really like Bitcoin forward. I was thinking to myself, like, eventually, sooner or later, like, you know, if Elon gets bored, he'll just launch his own cryptocurrency, or he'll just build capacity. Just because when you're that rich and you're that smart and you get bored, just make more money because, yeah, I'm not feeling the Bitcoin Lightning Network, but people who are invested into Bitcoin, people who value Bitcoin will go with it. Like, I think as long as it reduces the amount of energy it consumes,
yep,
I'm cool with it. But again, it's blockchain on blockchain. It's not Holochain.
I like it. LFC Happy has said Holo or Cardano ?
So I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. May I revisit that one more time though?
Of course, of course.
Bitcoin's Lightning Network.
Yes.
So for the viewers who don't know, it is it's basically going to become a widespread method of paying consumers in transactions, and it's also going to use the Lightning Network to reduce those transactions. But one of my things about currency, right? It's basically a way for people to capture on your own, because it's good in a sense where you can spend, but unless like you're setting that money in actual fiat, if that at any point actually pulls real Bitcoin, pulls real value in that digital asset, it's basically going to get you at the worst time. If you don't check when that fluctuation is at a dip, you know, or at a high or something, you're basically going to be giving away more than you intended to, or losing a lot from what you could have gained. So those, like, really pay attention to the high drawn asset.
I like it.
Cool.
Yeah, FC Happy has said Holochain or Cardano, question mark.
Both.
Both.
I don't necessarily like for me, I'm kind of like, I think for me what soured my feelings about Cardano was when I went through IOHK's corporate structure, and I had to scroll all the way down till I found like anyone who resembled similarity to me. So I commend him on Cardano on going to Africa and wanting to dev in Africa, but at the same time too, it's just make sure that you involve yourself in are also schooled up on how to dev or be introduced in computer programs. Last thing I want to do is become a form of colonization. That's something to be mindful of, how much we allow tech to integrate without meeting the true value of building. And that's why I'm an apologist. However, don't be dismissive of Cardano just because like volatility. But also too, like, when you do pay attention to the pump videos, the hype videos, you know, it's recognize when sell you on something based on the holding. Be cautious. So Cardano, I do like it. I would hold it, but again, it's a long-term holding. So you're expecting value, or if you're going to be sensitive based on volatility, then you might want to do a more traditional form of banking, play with stocks, because this is, you know, it can be intense and overwhelming. Hey, when I first started out, it was quite normal to see $500, $1,000 just by me being at work. For example, I could probably make anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 a day if I stayed at home and paid attention to volatility.
Yeah. Visual Monarchs says, can Holochain truly challenge AWS without Amazon buying them out? Have we lost sound?
No, we haven't lost sound. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I just went silent. I went silent because it was that was a powerful question. I
was like, no.
No, what it is, it's like money is the all-corrupting influence, right? It's like everyone's, you know, it's, you know, you could probably get the Pope to crip walk with the right amount of Bitcoin. So for me, when I think about it, I'm like, you know what? I don't think they have to, because, or they would, only because you can't influence somebody who change the world. So the best thing for a company like Amazon to do would be to dev or to scale. But Amazon is they have their way of moving at the speed of the world itself, or basically move forward the world. So I don't really expect Amazon to be left out of the picture. I just think that Holochain won't be corrupted. I don't see architects or students being corrupted. It's think about it. You're gonna earn one from an entire ecosystem. There's nothing that can. If they've been in this environment, imagine how much crypto they have from different projects.
That is true. That is true.
I don't see it being easy for them to. It's like it would almost be backwards for them to do that. And then as well, Holo Fuel can be traded for any asset. So if Amazon drops a new company tomorrow and they wanted to have tokens and to drop an IPO for it, but traditional IPO, this one next will be the trend of people doing IC because they're gonna to generate the revenue you need to start up or to allow people to participate in the market of trading. This is how you do. That's how Amazon would benefit from a relationship with Holo. There's enough business to go around, and I know it's quite easy to deal in absolute each other, but Amazon's best interest would work just based on the validation.
Nice. That was extremely thorough. Love it. Okay, there's two questions that has come in, and I'm guessing this is not financial advice. This is your own opinion. To the moon, baby.
No.
Oh.
No.
Huh?
You know what I mean? It's blast off.
To the moon, baby. Hi, Cham. And
Hallelujah.
Hi, Cham and FC Happy. They both asked the same question. What is the future price prediction for Holo over the next 5 years? And what do you expect the price to be by 2030?
Okay, so my price for 2030 is actually my price for 2025 as far as the price prediction. But the reason I put it at 2030 is because, I think it's quite easy to lock up big numbers and push them forward. But I like the ideal of being wrong. So putting it at 2030 because I want to do better predicted, because look at how everything's advanced so far in this alt season, and we've come to accept that the more that the world participates in crypto trading, every asset, even ones poorly researched, goes up in value. So I say by 2030, I say a $230.31 value. I would be open to being wrong. The things that would make me wrong is, in essence, should we ever see a burn of the asset, the mutual credit currency? That's one possibility. You never know, but I see it as being part of security to stabilize the network. That's one way of perceiving that. I'll say Holo Fuel gets burned to validate or create some form of security in the application process or protocol. And then for 2025 though, I'd ideally like to see it cross the $100 mark. The reason why I could see it reaching those values, because the market's seeking to disrupt and as well innovate in, whether that's from the Internet of Energy through RedGrid or through the distributed IoT security for healthcare. Healthcare, by the way, is an $11.9 trillion industry. Spoke of web hosting, a $260 million industry by 2025. The gaming industry, we all know how valuable that is. Every time Grand Theft Auto drops, we stop hearing about Tesla. We stop hearing about Bitcoin. The only thing we hear about is that new video game. Oh, and then as well, when it comes to, the NFT space, you're not going to get gas, okay? You're not going to get rinsed based on fluctuation Ethereum gas prices. Like gas, similar to Crow, is is that currency that you have to pay in order to do your trade and exchange. One of the things that gets new people that are new in this space so caught off guard is that sometimes the fees really are based on volume of trade, the difference in asset converted, and then as well, there's people don't realize like you can get a discount, no fee at all based on holding the native currency of that exchange. And some people think they need to hold a lot. In reality, it's to hold some. Sorry, sometimes I find myself going off on tangents.
That's why you're here. That's why we have you in the live stream, baby.
It's like I could go on forever. It's like you're not gonna stop me. He's gonna say something else for sure. For sure. Drop another gem. Brain overload.
Visual Monarchs has asked, a lot of people, especially small artists in the NFT art space, are complaining about the high gas fees to mint their NFTs.
Oh, I'm about to hit up my boy once I'm done with this conversation. You know, it's there's one artist, he's tremendous talent, and I think he could be. There's two guys that I'm a fan of. So one guy, his name is Ray Misery. He does calligraphy. If you ever get a chance, check him out on IG. Like, he does corporate branding. He's worked with cars, 3D aspects. Like, it's just for someone like him to benefit from an NFT space is tremendous. Like in Toronto, so I'm from Toronto, downtown Canada, and you know, this morning our local news station is talking about NFT that sold for $611,000. So this artist from Canada just made $611,000, and there's so much talent, not just in our city but in other cities, where it's like, as long as people see value in this, I totally support it. But I also support artists being able to make money or monetize their digital art, but then as well to continue to see residual payment every time that piece of art is sold. You don't really see that too. It's rare.
Yeah.
So that's something. And sorry. Orion Protocol is also working on an NFT auction. So that's something artists in the NFT space. Oh, I love it. I love seeing that now they're moving into corporate applications, industrial to sectors outside of art, simply by creating a formal certificate of authenticity, or value and share, percentage share. You know, people for a long time thought they had to buy one whole Bitcoin, and I think that's what deterred them from the market. If two people are broke, they're only going to talk to two other broke people, but no one's ever going to ask a rich guy, hey, how much can I give you something for some of it? And unlike a traditional stock, you don't have to own the whole percentage. And that's the advantage of crypto. There's no more barriers to anybody who has $1 in their pocket. When you got $1 in your pocket, not literally, but figuratively, you can participate and you can play, you can this realm and determine what your retirement looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So do you think that Holochain will be the future of low carbon NFTs? Could it be part of it?
Oh, 100%.
I like it.
Like it's not blockchain. We don't have a latency of any, no lag. There's no significant changes in terms of the carbon leave. So we've reduced our footprint. And that's why when you start to hear Holochain talk about ecosystem, it really is not just ecosystem, the digital virtual sense, scaling the entire platform or exchange. No, prior to like coming across Orion Protocol, I was perspective I had, like, I'm 30 days into it, but then it was like in those 30 days I have loved everything that I've come across, particularly. So with Orion Protocol becoming an exchange, that the whole landscape has changed. That's 100% validated.
like it. Yep. Yep. I love it the way that you answer it, and I've got stuff in my head, and you're answering it a million times better than I ever would. Hi Champ.
It's all good. It's all good.
Hi Champ has asked, do you think we can have a Coinbase listing of the hot token? If yes, when do you think it'll happen? Then I think about other questions about Coinbase. What do you think about ADA launching on Coinbase? Do you feel disappointed? Interesting.
Do I feel disappointed that Holo wasn't on Coinbase?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel a little bit expected, but it's business, right? Like anything that's a competitor or a competitor outside your competitor, and just through bilateral dealing, you protect yourself in the interest of yourself. What you will see is people not readily accepting the fact that, you know what, maybe the Bitcoin I have, or the Ethereum I have, or the Zilla Q I have, or this, not to say they don't have value or will see a dent in their value. The fact that someone just made them proof that this is faster, it's going to force everyone to realize that blockchain might not and don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking blockchain for everything. A private secure network is still a privately, but now you have a way to do things a lot better, a lot faster. Like I think about automobiles working with a concept similar to like what three words as far as geomapping of the world, vehicles being able to communicate in real live traffic density. That's something where, you know, an app like Waze no longer, it's obsolescence, because now we can all communicate and see what traffic looks like as we're driving. Oh, okay, you know, maybe it's not that bad. Oh, there is actually an accident. How a network communicates is reactive. Instead of you spending, say, like 82 days a year in traffic, you're probably going to end up spending probably like 6. An economy boost in that value by seeing less, by seeing literally people moving point A to point in real time. That's the benefit of it. Literally, say a fire truck pulls over to an accident on the road, says there's an accident, everyone knows there's an accident. Now there's kind of no excuse to drive by and simply just watch. So that's like another example of case.
Yep. Yep. Okay.
And sorry if I sort of answered the question and moved on, but like I have no feelings about Coinbase. It's another exchange. I just like that there's a Coinbase and Coinbase Pro. It's like, I feel like an exchange should always be, what everyone sees should always be the same, because otherwise it's like one benefits the whales, and who doesn't know what whales are, risk keeping a hedge afloat.
Yeah. There's a few questions firing out about the market cap and having a high price over $5. Could you probably explain the idea of token burning, the market cap in the future, and you know why you predict that Holochain could be the price that it is? I'm with you. I'm totally with you 100%, but we think we need an explanation as to why we get to that figure.
So I was thinking about that as well, like on the way home, as far as one of the drawbacks of having such a high market cap is that people see that and think, oh, it'll take forever to reach that value, and it's very short-sighted in the sense that you didn't do your research. Because, you know, my thing is, you know, I'm not pointing that back at the viewer, but I'm just like, you know, I have these conversations in my head, like, you know, what would it really be like? And so for me, it's where it comes from is when people ask me that, it's like, okay, well then, what's the next? You know, I feel like that's a ... sentence, and you didn't have perspective on that yourself So there's really not anything bad about having a high market cap. It's just a perception that something's lesser in value because more of them exist, when in reality, value is in what the product offers fans to do for the community at large or the world as one. And when you talk about working from an ecosystem, ecosystems are very susceptible to change. Now what we have is real-time communication. You're going to see a difference in terms of whether that's concise patient profiles in the healthcare sector or just pure devices from the fringe of the network to the most interior of the network, because things are going to communicate in real time and you'll be able to do more in real time. It's the value for me is do people want to continue realizing that someone else's wealth is predicated on generating excess amount of power, excess amount of pollution, not really benefiting the community at large. It's great that your Fortune 500 company has some kind of charitable cause, but a more charitable cause would be putting that actual energy into community or rural areas that need that energy, that could benefit from being connected to the internet. So that's where my perspective is on it. As a market disruptor, you have to look at as like similar to Bitcoin. I'll use Bitcoin as a case. You came into digital currency will be a way forward of this exponential value. It can't be invalidated, no matter what I say about pollution or 109 terawatt consumption, and whether or not people want to participate in ensuring that there's an Earth left over, hundreds of years, thousands of years. Holochain creates a more sustainable environment for both the developer, communities. If people support that, that's where the value comes from. So that's why I'd be remiss to think that anybody who's not involved in it, the Holochain, would want to become a supporter of Holochain. That's where that value.
Okay, Visual Monarchs. This is an interesting question.
Yep.
Arthur Brock said that Holo is not suitable for high volume live video streaming or multiplayer video games. What do you make of that?
I get where he's coming from. I see it. Not everybody has the same internet, so it's not personal. It's just you don't want to open. Remember, this is the architect of a framework.
Yeah.
It's Internet 2.0. He knows what he's getting himself into, and if you've got 3 out of 10 players who don't have high-speed internet, or not access to high-speed internet, but it's if there's the proximity to one another, that could become an issue. And also too, you're routing through a server, not necessarily updated or built on the framework itself. So he's smart enough to absolve himself of the liability of that kind of volume and traffic. When we talk about the speed of a peer-to-peer network, remember the technologies have to be built and ready to accept that. You think Microsoft, Sony, or any of these other major companies are ready for that conversation? They're really not, because if they were, they probably would have had their own gaming token that could have traded and gained you value, as opposed to not having any value and you just continue to play the game hoping you got this player card. Like, best example, Madden or FIFA. They've always had playing cards for the longest. So in many ways, that was like an NFT. You kept playing the game because you kept wanting to these cards, whether or not it created a boost or it was just unlock a player or some kind of jersey alternate. They were here, I want to say 20 years early, never capitalized on the value. So if you don't, that's another reason why Holochain sort of wins in this opportunity, whereas at least to some aspect, they can enter the NFT arena, move forward onto an Orion protocol type experience where users gain in that value. Multiplayer gaming, I get you, but we'll get there. But We're very fickle.
A message from Grass Cutting. Have you heard of Lightwave? They are building on Holochain and they are all about sustainability products on one marketplace.
I haven't heard about them actually. So they're a consumer packaged food and beverage company based in Broomfield, Colorado, USA, and that manufactured, marketed, distributed, and sold branded plant-based foods and beverages, coffee, dairy products, and organic produce throughout North America and Europe. I'm for it. Because it makes sense, right? As far as supply chains. Like, one of the things I had toyed with as an idea was, how do you guarantee that your shelves always have X amount of product on it through some kind of system in which you do so in real time? Something gets sold, whether it's it going through the scanner, but more importantly, leaving the shelf, for example. That, as far as the Internet of Things, the shelf is a device. The shelf says the weight has changed based on the product affixed to the value. So it's not waiting till it gets through the QR code. It's telling you that you have a change based on what's happening on the shelf.
Yeah.
So if there's in that regard or warehousing, you don't lose with HoloTUBE, you benefit. I look forward to getting more into that partnership, but I love seeing health food into that direction.
Yeah.
I wonder what their shareholdings are right now. They'll probably go up in the future once they reach that conversation. Investors in Whitewave go up, and they catch on to what Holochain is, they'll probably start. The thing about Holochain is, if you're not a wealthy person or you miss out on it, it's gonna really easy opportunity to sort of place yourself before whatever happens. Like, early entry into market means you don't experience the same stressors of volatility, because your come up, smaller hodl, smaller bag, smaller increment, when someone else would have got into higher. So understand that new low, there's, like, for me, I have a certain fixed value that I consider it to be low regardless, save, but if I think something's going to be where it's going to be 5 to 10 years from now, I don't really care to spend what the value is based on.
Wow. Okay. There is so many messages of appreciation left, right, and center here.
Oh, by the way, I'm so sorry. 52-week high for White Waves. Stock price was $56.82. So do understand that people who are invested in other partnerships also have the ability to play in this arena. Don't get got. Get in early. I'm gonna get my power cord. I'm still listening. I'm still here.
Yeah.
Fire up that question.
To the moon. Yeah, there's so many messages of appreciation. Everybody's saying thank you, thanks for this moment. People saying thank you for your time, Big Black Crypto, energy and wisdom. Robert's just turned up. Robert, we have answered your question, which you'll be able to listen to later. There's so many people loving your knowledge, your expertise, the person that you are, just literally everything. You're an absolute asset to the digital world. It's beyond incredible, your level of knowledge.
Thank you, Con. I think about the people in the greater ecosystem, wanting to make sure that nobody goes through any form of monetary predation. A lot of these pump-up videos, these hype sellers or hype buyers, they do put people at risk. And part of my calling, I guess, edifying people, but doing it in a way of where you can still enjoy learning about a new tier. Because if you are invested in trading in a digital asset, this is a pioneering experience. Don't think of it as being 10 years too late. Realize that you are 20 years early. And I do that. For me, money invested, those weren't conversations. And they still aren't common conversations. But once, I kind of, people that are like, I have the intellect. Nobody's having these conversations, these opportunities. How you're raised kind of dictates, in many ways, how you operate. And unfortunate, but I thought, like, you got to be rich to buy stocks. It's like, no, you just need to walk into your bank, say, hello, I recognize we're not friends, blah, blah, you're a public utility, and not personal, but I need access to trading stocks. So why haven't you guys ever reached out to me, sort of had that conversation? Is it a me thing? And you'll find out it's not me, it's mutual, like exclusive to you. The bank isn't your business. If you knew how to trade stocks, they probably wouldn't be able to make more money off the leverage you as a backing. Your bank is worth what it's worth because you don't know. That's why they don't want to risk what a bank is worth. Essentially, entire pool, entire stake. Because if that got liquidated in the stock, for short sell or someone not positioning properly and preparing, the bank wouldn't be worth what it is. That's one of the reasons why they don't have these. Unfortunately, it took me 16 years to realize that, but then I don't think you should have. The future's forward. Traditional banking is dead. It's a utility, it's a service. It's like a token holder, but it's not ready to hold tokens. So who are you going to bank with? I like knowing that I can bank with different institutions, centralized environment. Over here I have my artwork. I have an entire artwork collection. Over here I can make money off of artwork. Over here, you know what? I have access to this exchange, but because that country has had issues in the past, guess what? I'm only going to keep that max attached to my lowest credit card out of security protection, so I never get caught. Like, there's a lot to know, but once you dive deep or make an effort to be aware of little things, it's grow and you start to play this so much. It's nice to do things out of confidence as opposed to out of fear. And I want people to do with confidence as opposed to out of fear.
I'm inspired. I am so inspired. Oh dear. Is there any more questions being fired out on the chat for you? There is from Hicham. How about Holoport? Have you heard about people have... Oh gosh, hang on. Let me start then. How about Holoport? Is there a delay for delivery on Holoport?
That doesn't bother me. I'm really more so interested in Orion protocol. Hi, Cham. May I ask you or any of the other users, what are your thoughts on the partnership, Holochain and Orion protocol, creating an exchange that rivals all the other exchanges, that forces all the other exchanges to do business with them and through them, and is that more of an interest for you? Will that still be a concern about holoports, knowing that the holoports, they could always be made again, nothing stopping that, in which case that sort of also drives up the cost hot, because if you notice, initial purchase of holoports was done through hot tokens.
Yeah. Right. I mean, we've had you for an hour now. We have literally taken up an hour of your time. Do you have anything that you want to talk about? Go freelance. Is there anything that you want to put out there that's in your head that you want to tell the HoloTUBE community about Holochain? The future of Holochain, the market, anything.
There's nothing stopping $1 cap. There's the interoperability and you being able to develop in different coding languages, being able to work in those frameworks, it makes scalability issue one that's been resolved. And as far as people saying, well, how will this connect to that? Again, interoperability. Coding is no longer an issue. It's just the issue now comes down to politics. Dev on Holochain, migrate to Holochain, swap and wrap in Holochain. When people realize that this is the fastest way to do it, the only reason why I won't do it is because you as a user or as a trader, holder of any digital asset, because they don't want you to pay lower fees. What was the point of us leaving banking if it was to force ourselves into monopolized systems? You're not an aphid. You don't need moved around by an. The more knowledge you acquire, the more you'll be able to long-term plays like this. Now remember, I'm not saying I've always been into crypto, but it's been of an interest. I couldn't wrap my head around it. It wasn't until this year that I realized, like, hey, I do construction. When it rains, it's windy, when it snows, I have to literally hope that there's a Saturday to make up for a day lost. But if those days don't come back, you know what? It's hand over fist. What is that money? That's why I encourage people to take an active part. Fintech, I want to say, comprehend. Knowing the technology and financials behind it. Because if you don't, you're going to risk losing out on. Oh, I like that. I like that from grass cutting. Orion will be the only and first to combine CEX and staking pools. Trying not to get us canceled. Staking pools together is so cool. BigBlackCrypto, you understand my. Thank you. It's funny. When I came up with my name, I thought it was just gonna be a joke, and then I was like, you know what? Actually, it's not a joke because the business is in the black. That's when it's actually doing best. So that's if anyone thinks it's just a joke, initially it was going to be just a joke. I have the whole world saying my name like that, but then also too, it's from a business perspective. If you know business and you're in the black, you're doing really.
Cool. Well, BigBlackCrypto.
Oh, and sorry. Just to touch on that, like a definition from Investopedia, much more thorough than what I could give you off the top is, it's said to be in the black if it is profitable, or more specifically, if the company produces positive earnings after accounting for all expenses. So that's the goal. I don't want to see red candles. I want to see green candles. When you look at your end of year, you're calculating your capital gain, I want you in the black to take less L's to gain more W's. So that's why when I spoke about Holochain, I wasn't trying to wait another 5 or 10 years for the world to sort of gravitate. I knew that I could translate things or be approachable in a way where people could get the understanding of a technology that might seem overwhelming. But hey, you know what? A lot of us have parents that are anywhere from 30 to 40 years older than us. It's a beautiful thing when people are able to close gaps in knowledge based on perceived age difference. It's like, no, tech can seem like tech changes over time, right? But all based off of the environment. A lot of what we see in computers, for example, is based off of the brain. So understand, you literally are the blueprint for everything around you, yet we undervalue ourselves. I don't get that. Don't be shy in participating in crypto. If you're worried about anything, you know what? Secure your network. Maybe one day I'll make a video on that. How to protect yourself before participating. Because that's something nobody really shows you spaces. How to secure your. You're going to see 1,001 hype selling videos, hype buying videos. Then when it comes to understanding your digital asset, nobody's going to tell you how to really secure and protect yourself. And there are many ways to do so. Don't just get caught up on the price value and what you see later on. You also need to enjoy the balance of life of not stressing every second of the day. I like Holochain for that reason. I got no.
Oh dear. I tell you what.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
Gabby
Gabby.
forgot some Holo. I knew this was coming. I was trying to dodge that. I was trying to ask, dodge that. So yes, I am holding a Holo. I am also not a financial advisor. Gotta say that in case regulated. But yes, I am holding a Holo. I wouldn't. You don't make that kind of. You don't do an hour and a half research video on a digital asset and not hold it.
That's true.
I would have held a lot more. Prior to this weekend, because once that exchange launches, a lot of alts, jump out the door. My question is, I still gotta look up into it. Is whether or not that's going to be offered in the U.S. Because if it's offered in the U.S., we're talking about hot. Why isn't it offered in the U.S.? It's a very common question. Americans ask me all the time. Apologize. Canadian, somewhat a little bit ahead in tech. Yeah, all the population advantages. Yeah, baby. I gotta enjoy that.
Did you see the?
That happened.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Did you see the information about Holochain and Europe? Gabby asked about that yesterday. I don't know if you've seen that.
Talking about, is that a recent publishing, or was it just about them sitting at the head of council in regards to the European?
That's it. Yeah.
Receiving regulatory. Yeah, I knew about that. It's one of those things where it's like, how you think about something, you hypothesize it, and then you try to validate it or invalidate it. So whenever I have an idea, I try to invalidate it. I was impressed to see that, if you look up, I believe there's a couple articles or videos from someone be the head of a Belgian bank or something like that, who was encouraging to adopt kind of that's long overdue. If countries don't come together to figure out what's happening in this space, they're going to quickly realize their fiat doesn't hold the same values. At a certain
I think we may have lost connection to the legend that is BigBlackCrypto. It's fine. That was an absolutely amazing interview, and I hope it gave you lots and lots of information, and gave you the insight and everything that you need in relation to where you're going to go with Holochain and what your views are. Seriously, I absolutely enjoyed that. I thought it was fantastic. I'm sorry that he's gone. I'm absolutely gutted that he's disappeared. The call is frozen, but it's fine. BigBlackCrypto, we won't take any more of your time. It's just awesome to have you here and to be part of the HoloTUBE. We really appreciate everything that you do for this community. You are constantly on the Discord answering questions left, right and centre, and your work within this community is massively appreciated.